The experts say to do what no one else is doing, or to do what your competition refuses to do. And I really think we've hit on that with our process. We come from the world of custom home design, and so applying that into tiny homes really helps us to do custom tiny homes. And we have developed a process that really aids in making that as efficient as possible to get you into the home that you like. The entire process starts when you ask us to help you build or design or ask questions or whatever. And we come back and we ask you a couple questions to see what kind of qualifications you have or what kind of timeline we're going to put you into. One of the most important is, are you wanting to move in the next 3 months? Then we need to fast track this process. If you're not looking at it for 2 to 3 years, sure, we'll answer some of your questions, but it's not going to be as a priority to come to our next stages of the process. And that starts with a webinar. So we hold a webinar on the third Thursday of every month, and we don't want to have hundreds of people there, so we keep it down to a maximum of 35, and we send select people, after answering our questions, a invitation to register on Eventbrite. At our webinar, we go over how to succeed in living tiny, and that's through our method that we talked about earlier on our YouTube channel. But then we also get into how we can help you apply our method. And that, of course, is with building with us. But it's not just the build, and I think that's what a lot of people get wrong. They just want to build a tiny home. But realistically, we actually need to develop the right design and the right mindset in order to build the tiny home that's right for you. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not a just change the siding color to make it work for you. There's a lot of different stuff. One of the most important things that I keep coming back to is the kitchen. So we've had clients who are chefs. They want a really nice kitchen, and they need a place to store all of their kitchen stuff. But we've also had clients say, I don't like to cook. I like to buy a minimal amount of food to store in my tiny home. All I need is a bar fridge and a sink and a little bit of countertop. That's all I need. Well, that right there makes 2 very different tiny homes. So we want to make sure we're designing the right one for you. Now, our official process starts after our webinar. And that's when we start talking to you one-on-one on, would you like to sign up for our workshops? This is a really neat idea that we've developed. And it's basically like having design meetings. We're just calling them workshops, and there's a little bit more involved. There's 5 different workshops that we go through. The first one is simplification. So we're looking at preparing your mindset to live tiny, simplifying, paring down, but it's also about prioritizing what's right for you. So if you're a chef, we don't want to pare down your kitchen stuff. But if you're not a chef and you've got 3 different frying pans, perhaps you don't need them. That's something that we can pare down. The second workshop is what we call legal land. So we go through, it's very client driven, so it's very specific to the area that you want to live in. And we go through what kind of zones are going to allow tiny homes in the area that you want to live. And we'll suggest with people that you pick if you don't have an actual property in mind already, that you pick a central location and a driving radius around it. And that could be a bunch of different townships, and we'll say, okay, well, this one's going to be more friendly towards it, and these are the types of zones of properties that you need to be looking for. And that differs from everybody to everybody. We could have someone that's looking to purchase land, and they're going to put a tiny home there. We have some people looking to lease land. And then we have other people who already have a property in mind because it's their parents' property or their friend's property or their brother's property or something like that. And so we're going to look into very specifically and help you out with the regulations that surround that. The next 3 workshops are design workshops. So we start with layouts, and this is based a lot also on what we did the first time on the simplification workshop and figuring out your priorities. So helping you with layouts. If you're legalizing the tiny home as a dwelling in Ontario, here's the parameters that we have to abide by. Here's the ceiling heights. These are the square footages of the different rooms that are required. If you do a loft, it has to be called a storage loft, so we need to provide a different space to legally be your sleeping space. Even if you use the loft to sleep in later, it's not something that we can legalize that way. So we go into all that detail. But perhaps you're not going to live in Ontario. The really cool thing about COVID-19, there's a lot of crappy stuff, but the really cool thing is it all of a sudden made us global. So we've had people from France go through our workshops. We have people in Africa wanting to go through. We've got people in the States wanting to go through. And so we can help all of these people really easily because it's all done online. All of this stuff now is over Zoom. I am hoping for the day when we can do this back in person again, but we will still be having people participate over Zoom because a lot of the people we're helping are not within driving distance of our office. So we're not going to make you drive 5 hours every Saturday morning to come to a workshop. We're going to allow you to do that online. And it's really a, I kind of want to say a self-help workshop. We're helping you develop your tiny home and providing the expertise on making this happen. And so after we've done the layout, we then go into materials. So that's the fourth workshop, is materials. So what kind of siding are we putting in? What kind of windows are we putting in? What kind of flooring? What kind of paint colors are we going on the wall? And so we bring you through a bunch of different design styles. You figure out which style most resonates with you. We send you back a few mood boards. You say, well, I resonate a little bit with this part of it, and we really refine that to figure out what it is you actually like. Asking you questions in words doesn't always work because you're using the left side of your brain and you're answering logically on what you think we want to hear. But what we're really interested in, and that's why we use a lot of pictures, is the right side of your brain, the artistic side of your brain. What do you actually like? What actually resonates with you? So we've come up with a good way of doing that. Then the fifth workshop is systems. Now, from my experience, this has turned into just talking about the heating system because there are so many different ways to heat a home, especially a tiny home, that gets into all kinds of different stuff, and the other systems don't take as long. So for heating, for example, you've got in-floor heating, but that could be electric, that could be water. We actually use glycol, but people call it water. You could do wood stove. You could do propane wall heater. You could do ductless mini split. And that's usually electric, and there's a bunch of other in-between stuff or combinations of the few, and so it gets really complicated. So we spend the most time talking about heating, but there's electrical systems. Are you wanting to go off grid? So how does the plumbing systems work? Are we doing solar in there? So a lot of that sort of stuff. So there's 5 workshops in total. 3 of them are mandatory, and 2 of them are optional. So legal land, for instance, is an optional one. If you're going to be hiding in the backwoods somewhere, do you really care about the legalities of the land around where you want to live? Probably not. We have someone right now who wants to build the tiny home on a barge in the water. Guess what? That's classified as federal land. There are no building permits. There are no regulations for what you build on federal land. So they don't need to go to the legal land workshop. The last one, systems, is also something that is not mandatory to come to for us to build. And the reason for that is your budget may determine what systems we have to use. Some stuff costs a lot more than others, and if we're going to be doing the build for you, then we're going to determine what is going to be the most appropriate for you, and we're just going to okay that with you, but there's no need to actually go through the whole workshop. Now, what's really cool, this is something else that a lot of our competition are not doing, so we're going to do it. After the workshops, there are 4 distinct build stages, and actually a 5th. And the first one, the 5th one, that I just mentioned, is do it yourself. So you don't have to build with us to go to our workshops. So there's a lot of people that want to do it yourself, build it themselves, figure it out, but they just need some expert opinions and some expert help. And so that's what our workshops are for. Come on, come to our webinar, learn more about how we can help you. We'll bring you through the workshops as well. Yes, you pay for those, but then you have all the expert advice that you need to put it together yourself. If you're a do-it-yourself builder and you're coming to our workshops and you're looking for that expert advice and opinions on how to put certain things together, we help with that. But we're helping you come up with those ideas and write them down on paper, and we're giving you the framework to answer questions and figure it out. And it's really helpful, but you're not getting full drawings after that. But the neat thing about our workshops is that after each of the 5 workshops, you can hire experts to help you with those stages beyond what's just done at the workshops. So for instance, after the simplification workshop, you can hire a professional organizer to come in and help you pare down, to physically go through your stuff with you. After the legal land, we will give you access to lawyers for lease agreements, real estate agents for purchasing, those sort of experts. And then with the design workshops, those 3, you can hire the people that work for my other company, White Willow Design, and we will come up with the actual materials package for you, or the actual architectural drawings and how to put it all together, or after the systems, the engineering drawings of how all of that stuff works. So it's a lot more information on how to put that together yourself, even beyond what we're coming up with in our workshops. Now, if you are going to build with us, we do all that anyways, because we have to in order for us to have the right information and enough information to put everything together. So the centers of where the light fixture is over top of the vanity, for instance, or exactly how the framing works around the windows in the lightest way possible for transportation, but in a way that's still structurally sound. So we're going to work on all of that anyways if you're building with us. A lot of this stuff is for if you want to build it yourself, we can help you even further than that. And then our 4 builds, they start at bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Platinum is turnkey. Bronze is still a do-it-yourself, except that we're assembling all the materials for you, selling them to you, and you get a full instruction manual and everything on how to put it together. The build package is what we call silver. And that is if you're not comfortable with framing and exterior finishes and making sure it's watertight, then we'll do that part for you and you take over from there. But we won't ship it less than watertight. We want to make sure that the entire exterior shell is done and finished, and that's the next stage we stop at. And then gold is if you don't feel comfortable with mechanical and electrical rough-ins, we're going to go right up to insulation. So we do the electrical rough-in, the mechanical rough-in, the heating rough-in, and then we insulate so that we can do the electrical finishing, because he who starts the electrical must finish the electrical, and we can't finish until after the insulation's in, and then you take it away from there. And then of course, like I said, platinum is the full build, everything included. Thanks for joining us today to learn about our process. I'm really proud of what we've came up with. This process is going to help you determine how to build your tiny home that's specific to you. And remember, we're not just doing workshops and a process to figure out how to build your tiny home. We're also aiding and helping you to succeed in living tiny by starting with the mindset. So remember, I'm Daniel Ott, and this is Upsides Down, where we turn housing on its head.